Hello, everybody. My name is Odell Horn. I'm the North Georgia Conference United Methodist Men's President. I am here to introduce you to Chris Karabinos. Some of you know Chris, a lot of you know Chris. He is our Scouting Ministry Coordinator for the North Georgia Conference. Chris is going to talk about building a team, and Chris has built a phenomenal team with the Scouting Ministry in the last 3 years. And so he's going to share some of his secrets with us. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Odell. Thank you for the opportunity to share one way on how you can build a conference scout team. I actually took over as conference scout coordinator 5 years ago, and the gentleman I replaced, Barry Herron, and I started thinking about how to get more people involved, because one person can't do a lot with 800 to 900 churches in terms of a ministry. And so we started trying to think about how to get more people involved. So we started adding people and building and recruiting people. And so what I'm going to walk you through here is how we did it. It's not the only way to do it, but we sort of templatized it. And the presentation I'm going to share with you here is one I've actually used to educate our own team as we continue to build it, but also at the national level with the Methodist Scouts out of Philmont and some other places, and then also within the Atlanta Area Council and Boy Scouts. So this is sort of a nice template here. And so I'm going to share this with you. If you'd like a copy of it, let me know, or let Odell know. And then if you'd like some help trying to leverage or utilize some of these principles I'm sharing with you, I'll be glad to be a resource for you and to ride shotgun with you. But I basically have 4 points I'm going to walk through today. Why do you need a team? Why can't you just do, as Jerry will say, the Lone Ranger thing? And that's perfectly fine with many ministries. Sometimes, though, you need help to do that. So we're going to talk about the whys of that, which will actually, if you think about, as we think about that, that will inform the next set of questions. Well, what kind of team do you need? And where do we find people to join that team? And then how do we actually go through the process of building it? So those are the 4 key items that we're going to talk about in this conversation here. So the first, and I'm going to talk in terms of a scout team, but you can look at this in terms of if you have a prison ministry team or a Bikers for Bible team or any other kind of team that you have as a men's ministry. And actually, I believe this whole process is leverageable just even outside the church too, as you build a team of business or some other nonprofit. And so as you can tell here, this is a blank screen. We actually use this for a workshop style presentation. So as you think about building a conference scout team, you want to think about what all you think you want to accomplish, and also the size of the mission. So for example, in our world, in the scout world, scouting in Methodism means Boy Scouts. It means Girl Scouts, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Campfire. There's nobody around that is an expert at all 4 of those ministries. Plus, you need to know how to navigate your way through Methodism, through the Methodist structure. And there's a lot of structure in Methodism, at the church level, at the district, the conference level, even at the national level, because there's resources and support there. So you might need people who are experts in any one of those 5 or 6 different areas that I just mentioned. And in your ministry, you probably have some other areas. So one reason is you need more skill sets, you need more experiences so that you can fully execute the mission of your ministry. So another one is you can't be everywhere at once. I think the North Georgia Conference has 65 or 67 different counties. We have over 800 churches spread out. You're several hours from one edge of the conference to the other. You just can't be everywhere. And then you start thinking about, as a conference scout coordinator, I'm working at the conference level, but I need people to work at the district level and people to work at the congregational level. And so that's just a lot of ground to cover, if you will. And then also, if you're going to have an event like a UMM conference retreat, or in our case, a Bishop Scout Launch, you need more than one person to organize and conduct the event. So we had a Bishop Scout Launch 3 years ago. We have another one planned this year. We plan to have, we'll have about 20 people working on that team to actually organize and host and conduct the event. So you need help to do certain things. But also a big part of building a ministry in the Methodist Church is conducted through relationships. You need to know people at the conference, the district, and the congregational level. And the more people you have on your team, the more relationships you have, the more effective you can be in disseminating information and also supporting more churches and expanding your reach. And the other thing is, you get a lot of people on a team, you can have more fun. You get into this and you have relationships. So there's a number of reasons why you'd want to have a team. Now, whether that team is 3 people or 10 people or 20 people, it depends on the scope of the mission, what you're trying to do. And there's no right answer. And we started off with a certain size team, and we find good people and we added. And so we're actually at 28 people today. So we didn't have any designs on getting that large, but so as long as we find people who are committed and willing to support the mission, we'll continue to expand the team. So the second question is what kind of team do you want? And in order to think about that, there are a couple of baby steps here. You want to think about who you're supporting, who's your client, your customer, if you will. There's a lot of people in the scout world, and I'll just talk about scouting, but think about it, how it applies to your ministry, about who you might work with. Obviously, you could work at the minister. If you're at the district level, work with the district leader or the district superintendent. In our scout world, we think about whoever runs the scout program. In Boy Scout language, it's a charter organization representative, or COR. Girl Scouts, they have a troop leader, etc. So just look at whoever is coordinating the scout program. We also might work with lay leaders. We also might work with scoutmasters and committee chairs and other key positions. So those are 4 distinct separate groups that we could work with. With, let's call it 820 churches, there's no way that we can establish relationships with all 4 of these leader types at every church. We can't even pick out one leader type at all 800 churches. That's just impossible. It's just too many points of coverage there. So we had a conversation about where do we want to focus our support, and we decided on the scout coordinator position. Now, about 38% of all of those 820 churches have some kind of scout program, Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. And so we search out that particular person to support that person. In those 62% of churches that don't have a scout program, then obviously we're looking at the minister as a key point of contact. Whatever it is you decide to do for your ministry, think about who you want to serve, because we're a resource for those people in those churches. Yes, we do care about lay leaders and we do care about scoutmasters, but there's a lot of different reasons. I won't go into all of them today, that we decided our primary focus is going to be here. So our communication through our website, through our newsletter, through other communications is to this person, but we write it so everybody would be interested in it. So just think about who you want to focus your support on, because that will actually influence a lot of the other decisions coming here. It could be all or some, and we do spend a lot of time with the ministers. In fact, 5 of those 28 people on our UMCOS, United Methodist Committee on Scouting team for the North Georgia Conference, are ministers themselves. So they actually help us understand how to message things and how to reach the minister as well. And 2 of those are female and 3 of those are males. So we've got a really strong mix there. And I would suggest there are ministers in this conference that care about your ministry, whatever that is. The challenge is, how do you find them? And the short answer is, and we'll get back to this later, is at annual conference. You know, if you can post yourself and have a table and promote it either through the UMM or through your own ministry, you can absolutely reach out, because there are ministers walking by all the time and who care about whatever is about all our different ministries. And that's how I recruited those 5 ministers right there. So what about supporting the district and the conference? Are we trying to support all 3 levels? And of course, the answer is yes. We definitely want to support the congregational leaders at the individual church level, but we get a lot of work done through the district leaders and absolutely the conference leaders. So you definitely want to spend time with those folks. We'll get more into that in a second. Is there a primary focus? For me, as a conference scout leader, my focus is here at the conference scout leader. So I report to the president of the United Methodist Man, Odell Horn. I also report to Bill Martin, who's the conference lay leader. This scouting is sort of an odd thing. We actually have 2 direct reports. So I maintain close ties with both of those positions. And the district leaders, what we call district scout commissioners, religious commissioners, I charge them to be in touch with their district superintendent and the district lay leaders, okay? Much like a district president. And also at the church level, we had the scout coordinators that we talked about before, the CORs. We charge them being in touch with their ministers and their folks there. So I'm responsible for communicating at this level, and then I ask these folks to do the same thing. So there's multiple levels of communication, and that's another reason to have more people on your team, is you can cover more ground that way. So let's think about the purpose of the thing. Okay, you want to get a bunch of people in the room. What do you want them to do? And so the kind of activities that we see doing from a scout perspective with churches, with individual troops and packs at the district and conference level, we can and do support things at different levels. When we started building the team, we basically just started at the church. How can we help a church, individual church, accomplish this mission better? And so that's where we started. And we have since expanded doing things at the district and the conference level. Okay, so we're taking those things when we weren't trying to build Rome in a day. So here are the kind of things that we decided we could support a congregation with. We can help them start a new pack or troop, what generically we call a unit, pack, troop, or crew, whether Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. Again, at the annual conference, we'd be sitting there at a table, minister walks up, and he would say, or she would say, we've been thinking about starting a Girl Scout troop. We don't know how to do it, and we're not sure what the commitments are. Can you help us with that? So we have a process. We actually walk them through that process, and we help them start a scout unit. So that is something that we want to do. Today, I mentioned we're at 38%. When we started 5 years ago, we were at 22%. So we've added a lot of new units over the past 5 years, which is a little bit counter to the national trend. But once you start having people focus on it, you can make it happen. There are ministers and lay leaders who care about this ministry. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And so just being available and letting them know that you're here. So that's something that's important to us. Also, we care about Christian education program. At the end of the day, we look at scouting as a ministry, a way to spread seeds of Christ to help bring people into the church. And so that's the higher order mission. And one of the ways we do that is through what we used to call God and Country programs, or that PRAY is the organization that creates the God and Country program. So we call them PRAY programs. We want more churches to offer those. And so we have been increasing that number over the past 5 years. And so now we've had 75 churches last year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but one church in an area can invite a whole county, if you will. So we actually have a pretty decent reach there, but we want to grow more. This is an outreach ministry here. This is really Christian education. We also want to have, and I can go through the detail here, so this is not really meant here, but so we have specific things that we want to promote awards, help troubled churches or troubled units with scout programs. We do training to do a lot of these things, and there's some other activities we do. Some of the activities we do help support these objectives. We have a Bishop Scout Lunch I mentioned 3 years ago. We had Bishop Sue get up and talk about the importance of scouting, how it is an outreach ministry, that these PRAY programs are really critical to our mission, and a number of other things. So she is hugely supportive of that. That's one reason how we added so many scout units over that time. But we'll also we have an academy. You'll see the patch behind me. It's called the Scouters Religious Academy. That's last year's patch. We have another one this year. And so that is a way to educate ministers and leaders about how to start new units, about how to start PRAY programs, and why it's important to build faith into your scouting program. How do you do that? There's a whole course on that. There's courses on promoting Methodist awards, the Methodist Scouting Awards. We actually had 12 courses last year. We're going to have 16 courses this year. And so training is a big way to help us get that mission. So as you start thinking about, okay, these are the kind of things that we'd like to do, then what skill sets of people do I need to go execute those activities? What kind of, because I want people to be able to have some experience doing those things. So if it's an experience around starting a new unit, I'd like to find somebody who actually has that experience. And so there are people who've done that, or leading a PRAY program. If we want to expand PRAY programs, we want to find people who've led them, people who've done each of these things. So all these activities, all these backgrounds, experiences reflect the previous page. These are the kind of things we want to do. One thing here is really important. I think this is important for all of our ministries. Find people who know how to navigate through the Methodist Church, not just at your local church, but the district in particular and the conference, and have those people learn how to work together. I've recruited a lot of really good scout leaders, Boy Scout and Girl Scout leaders, but a lot of them don't know their way around the Methodist Church. Yes, they're Methodist. They go to Johns Creek or Hickory Flat or McKendree or somewhere, and they know their way around that church, but we also want to know people who know their way around the district. And those people are out there, but you got to look for them in the certain places. You got to know where to look for them. And also, anyway, so these are the skill sets and experiences that we started thinking, oh, this is how we can find people to do the things we want to do. So I know there's a lot of words on this page, and I'll be brief about this, but we started looking for positions with the skill sets we're looking for. So if we're looking for somebody, and I'll just give you 1 or 2 examples here. Somebody who has experience starting a new pack or new troop. Who has that experience? Well, in Boy Scout world, they have something called a district membership chair. I used to be one, so that's why I'm familiar with that. And your job is to start new packs, new troops in the Boy Scout world. Girl Scouts had a similar position. Someone who's actually started, who's been a scoutmaster of a new startup troop, they know personally what it takes to do that. Gosh, I love finding these people to be on our team because now we have that skill set. I don't need everybody, all 28 people to have that, but we've got 2 of our people who've been district membership chairs. So when anybody on that team needs that skill set, they know who to call to go help start a new unit. Same thing with the Pray program, somebody who's facilitated the Pray program. We've got a gentleman, Malcolm Wills. He's led the Pray program at Johns Creek United Methodist for 7 years, 8 years. And they have an outstanding annual program. So if a church in another part of the conference is interested in this and they have questions and they want to start a program, we'll connect them with Malcolm and he'll walk them through the steps it takes to require me. He has a whole program. And so not everybody's an expert at Pray, but we have several experts who are Pray, and about half of our 28 people have actually led an organized program. So that's actually a strong skill set. We could go through all these different things here, but there are people, and so I'm looking for people who have experience at just one of these things. Nobody's going to be an expert at all these, but between all the people we have an expert at this, experts at this, et cetera. And we all can help support each other. So those are the positions of where I'm thinking about recruiting. Where do I go find these people? So then I start looking at positions on our team. How do we want to take those people that we're identifying and form them on a team? What positions do we give them on the UMCOS, Methodist Community Scouting? So just like you have a district UMM president, we have a district scout coordinator, except we use the word district religious commissioner. Okay. So we want at least 1 for each of the 8 districts. We actually have about 1.5 for each of the districts, and we actually want to expand it just because there's 800 churches to care for or to talk to. We also have Malcolm as a Pray program coordinator, advisor, and we're actually building a team around that because there's more opportunity to add Pray programs. We have somebody in charge of just the awards because that's a really important motivator. We have a small training staff who puts on the academy and some other events. We have event coordinators like a Bishop Scout Lunch or retreat and those kind of things. And then we have a marketing capability to help communicate all the things we're doing. Those are specific. Now we have other positions, but we start thinking about specific positions that I'd like to fill as we build this team out. And you're not going to fill them. I didn't fill them all at once. It took I'd sort of lowered my expectations. I'd go talk to someone who is passionate about scouting as a ministry, find out what their interests were, and then I'd go plug them in where they had experience. And eventually ended up filling all these positions, but I didn't necessarily go try to fill them all right away. And then so we ended up with something like this. You'll recognize these are the old 12 districts we have since this presentation is about a year old. We have since reconfigured for the new 8 districts, but we do have a religious commissioner for each of at least one, and we have one for all 8, and 4 of the 8 actually have a second, and then one of them has 3. Then we have these other positions that we have identified. And we actually have another one I've added is basically in taking the 5 ministers, and we have a ministerial advisory board because they can help us understand how to navigate, work with, and communicate with other ministers. So that's a huge value. Anyway, so, and we have these other positions here. This is what it actually looks like back on January 4th of 2020. I'll need to insert the new one. We do have a new one here, but we also have professional Girl Scout advisors who are liaisons to our team. So we get to work with local councils. We've had somebody from Big Brothers, and we're going to fill that one again, but you can see the specific names here. Okay. And then, so where do you find these people? And so the way we look at it, and conceptually, your world may be similar. In fact, I would suggest it probably is. You just need to figure out where the other communities are where you can go find those people. In our world, we think about, first off, the Scout community, Boy Scout world and Girl Scout world in particular. And they both have their entire communities. And obviously with my uniform, you could tell which one I come from, but I'm very deliberate about recruiting people from Girl Scouts too. And so those are the two ones that we spend most of our time on at this point in time. But there's troop levels, there's district, their district different than ours. There's councils, there's national. And so there's communities that people have done or delivered the experiences or developed the experiences I mentioned before. We also have the church community, whether it's at the congregation or at the district or whatever. And then you have an overlap with the church Scout community that you can tap into. Now we have actually a whole separate presentation around recruiting. It's a 45-minute session where I lead Scout and church leaders through how to tap into those specific rings and how to approach those, how to identify them, how to approach them, how to recruit them. And so if anybody's interested in that, just let me know. As I get towards closing here, here's a few guiding principles as you build the team that I use, and these may be helpful for you. One is just find qualified people and get them in the boat. You might not get them in the right seat in the boat, and that's okay. If somebody's passionate about your ministry and passionate about spreading the word of Christ, get them on board, and then figure out what to do with them. Are they the parade coordinator, or are they really the new unit starting person, or are they really a district person? That's okay, but just find passionate people, and because then they'll figure out some way to contribute. Also, don't try to build Rome in a day. Select a couple of key people first. Then they're going to have ideas, and they're going to add momentum and passion, and then together, then all of a sudden you will build momentum, and then they know more people and have other ideas. And review the team structure periodically. I shared with you the org chart we have today. We didn't start out with that. We just started off with a couple of positions, and then it sort of grew organically, and that's perfectly fine. And allow the time for the team to build. Originally, we said, let's see where we get in 2 years, and every year we keep adding and building our team. And a lot of it depends on the kind of people we have and the energy we have. So that is the key presentation that we had in store. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Karabinos1@gmail.com, or you can reach out to Odell, and then he can redirect you to me. But best of luck building your team, and would love to help out anybody who's looking for a little bit of assistance. Thank you, Odell.